What is it that's brought your leadership style to what it is?
Well, as I get older, I do realize I need to depend a little bit more on the people that work for me. I used to try to do it all. And unfortunately, every morning I'm in the warehouse unloading tractor trailers. That's just me. That's just my style. I like to dive in, and I really want to make sure that my employees know that if I'm willing to do it, so should they be.
Welcome back to Covered by New Leaf. I'm Sean Hicks, the CEO and co-founder of New Leaf Service Contracts. This podcast is for independent retailers who are looking to drive growth in their business. We bring industry experts each week to our podcast to talk to you about what's going on in the business today. Joining us this week is Dan Verschleiser. He's the president and CEO of Dan-Marc Appliance. He's going to talk to us about the benefits of being a single branded service company and how young people can earn six figures by servicing appliances. So, Danny, you and I have been friends for 27 years. You have been a phenomenal service partner of mine for those many years. Why don't you talk a little bit about how you got into the service business to start? Because you got a really good story there.
Sure, Sean. So, actually, I was in college. Started dating my wife and her dad at a commercial refrigeration company. And I was working with him to pay some of the bills as I was planning on getting engaged. So I needed some money, and it was better than pumping gas.
Right.
So I worked with him through the summer, some of the holidays, some of the breaks that we had. And I took an interest in it. I enjoyed working with, I always enjoyed working with my hands. And I went back to college, and about 3.5 years into college, much to my parents' dismay, I said, I think I'd rather go in a different direction. So this is where I got to. So I went to work with my father-in-law, who wasn't my father-in-law at the time, and realized that we would like to try to grow that business. But in order for me to be able to do that, I was going to need to get myself a little sharper. So I enrolled in a technical school, tried to take care of that so that I could help myself, because the gentleman did not know electric at all. So it was, and back in those days, everything was mechanical. We were working in restaurants, bars, schools, things like that. So I thought I would go in that direction, learn a little bit more so I could help grow the business. For him, and eventually, hopefully, for me. Where the Dan-Marc came from is my wife's two brothers' names are Dan and Mark. So that's how Dan-Marc happened, because we were supposed to be partners at one point. So I went to the school, was there for 3 days. The instructor said, called me up after the class. He says, "What are you doing here?" And I said, I'm trying to learn refrigeration. He goes, "Take this card, go see this gentleman over at Sears, and he'll get you a job." I said, "Okay, well, I wasn't looking for a job. I was just looking to get better at what I did." He goes, "You could do it over there." I said, "Okay." So I did. Next morning, was in there for 10 minutes. He hired me, handed me a set of keys, said, "I'll see you Monday." And that's where the ball started rolling. And worked with them. Went out with the gentleman for a day. He said, "Just watch the paperwork." And that's all I did, was I watched the paperwork, because there wasn't any computers back in the day. I says, "Okay." I saw the gentleman the next morning. His name was Red. I said, "Morning, Red. Where are we going today?" He goes, "I don't know. You're not with me." So he says, "You need to go see Phil," who was the supervisor. I said, "Uh-oh, I think I'm in trouble already." So I went in and I said, "Phil," Red said, "I'm not going with him." He says, "Yeah, no, here's your keys. You're on your own." I said, "What do you mean I'm on my own? I've never fixed a refrigerator in my life." He said, "You'll figure it out." So they gave me 9 PM calls. They're all, preventive maintenance calls, because they used to send them. And I did that for 3 weeks to a month and taught myself how to fix everything. I didn't want to just walk into somebody's home and just go through the motions, because there was really nothing wrong with them, or they would have called because there was a failure. So I would take a part in with me every day. I'd look up the model and then figure out what part I had in my stock that I could go and put in the truck and put in my toolbox. And I went in and put them in. And it taught me how to open up.
You were replacing parts on working refrigerators to teach yourself how to do it. That's what you're saying.
That is correct.
Okay. Gotcha. All right.
So, and that's where it started. And I worked with them for about 9 months. And then they wanted to lay me off to part-time, which I couldn't have. That's just the way they structured their business, and went to work for a gentleman who did some laundry service for Whirlpool. Well, I never fixed a washer or dryer either. So I was like, okay, here we go again. And he hired me, and I taught myself how to fix washers and dry.
And then from there, is that when you started Dan-Marc after that?
I did. I had enough of just making money for everybody else. I took 3 years of business management and accounting. I said, I think I could do this. So I was going to lump it in with my future father-in-law's business and kind of make a little bit bigger business out of it. And that's where it went. And then I just started doing it for myself.
Gotcha. So how old is Dan-Marc now?
It is 1984 is when I enrolled the name legally. 41 years. I've been doing it for 42.
Wow, that's amazing, Danny. Now, you must have started when you were 4 or 5, because you don't look to be that old, right? So all this stuff was done while you were still a kid.
I can show you my driver's license if you want.
Yeah, I hear you. And you're still married to the same woman, right?
I am.
Awesome. Congratulations. So obviously the service industry is a very challenging industry today. The repair of washers and dryers and refrigerators is not getting easier. It's getting more difficult. Obviously, we're putting in a lot of electronics, a lot of things into the products that make it more difficult to service. Is that, you are now a Whirlpool Gold servicer. Was that one of the decisions behind why you decided to focus on Whirlpool only?
Well, it was an opportunity that came across. I was doing work for Whirlpool as an ISC, which is an independent service contractor. There was a Whirlpool factory service at the time in my market, because they used to have their own factory service, as did GE and a couple of the other manufacturers. And they were going to move away from that model. And they happened to have a national provider at the time, which we'll leave that as that. And they were going to build a network of independent servicers and make their own network. And they invited me to be one of them. And in order to do that, I obviously, being in the New York market, I would have been the biggest one of all of them at that point, because just for the sheer volume that we have in the vertical environment that we live in. I did every brand. As you know, I did that for you, and I did that for many others, and did warranty on all of them. But in hiring the gentleman that I used to hire, I had a couple of women that were techs as well. You could be good at a lot of brands. You can be really good to great if you've focused on one. And they offered me the amount of volume that I needed to supplement what I was losing. And it made the efficiencies just that much easier for us, because I'm only dealing with one manufacturer, one billing process. It just makes it easier. And if a technician's going out on 9-10 jobs a day, and he sees 3 washing machines, well, they're pretty much all the same, because he's seeing the same manufacturer. He can't help but get better, faster, and he learns the product that much quicker. And the little quirks that they may have or may not have, but just opening the product, just being more comfortable speaking to it, because the hardest thing is speaking to the customer. And if you don't really, you may not have the greatest people skills, but if you're comfortable in the knowledge that you have, it's a lot easier to try to communicate that to the customer, because you really know the product.
All right. Absolutely.
And in doing the work with you and other manufacturers, you might see the same product once every month, once every 3 weeks. So it's a big difference in the way that you can mold a technician.
Sure. Absolutely. So how many technicians do you run today?
I currently have 75 in the Northeast, which consists of New Jersey, New York, and Eastern Pennsylvania. And I also have a partnership in Southern California with a colleague of ours. And we have 45 to 50 over there currently. So,
Got it. Years ago, I think it was probably a couple of years ago, you and I talked last, you were talking about taking over the Boston market. Did you ever do that or not?
so we put in the bid for it, and it was awarded to somebody else at the time because they could get it done a little bit quicker, which was okay. I mean, can't have everything. So I like it.
So with being a single branded servicer now with Whirlpool, does
Mm.
Whirlpool invest a lot of time and effort with you in training, parts availability? Do they give you a lot of that type of support that you didn't get from a lot of the other brands in the past?
Yes, and I don't want to say it's more or less because I don't the grass is I don't know what the grass is like on the other side any longer, but they were always better even when I was doing the other brands with support. But now it's just focused. There's reports that I get, you know, weekly, monthly. Obviously, we have carte blanche when we need parts from their main distribution center. So we do get a lot of support. There's somebody dedicated for me as my rep. And there's a hierarchy after that of which I I have access to whenever I need them. Uh, but everything works very smoothly.
Right, right. How long have you
It,
been a single service provider now? Single brand provider.
it's been 17 years, 16 years
Got it. I did not
since I
realize it's
went
been that
with
long.
them. It's been a while.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I also understand you took over some additional work for Whirlpool. Would you describe that for us? What are you doing for them now?
So we've been doing product exchanges for years. It was just on customers in our immediate area of our location, our office in West Colwell. Um, and it was asked if we would do a pilot because the vision was that they were looking to get the service network to also be the final mile network for them at some given point. So we did a pilot in the New Jersey market for them. It was about a 35-mile radius of my office. Did it for a year. Numbers were fantastic. They were ready to roll. So we took that market over. But when we took that market over, we got all of New York, all the way out to Eastern Long Island. So we got it all. And when they turn that switch, it goes on. So we now have nine trucks, nine delivery trucks, and we do the final mile in this market. We have actually put bids in for nine other markets that are being awarded in Q4, which is coming up soon of this year. And hopefully, I'd like to have all nine. That would be a business amongst itself because that's 144 more trucks that I would need for deliveries. But that's where we're at with it.
So now, and when you say final mile, you mean that if Whirlpool has sold something direct on their website, which they were the first, I'm going to say large manufacturer to get in the direct to consumer business, you deliver that, you hook that up for the customer, you remove the old piece. So you're handling that type of delivery. Do you have to go to their warehouse and pick up the product? How does that work?
So each morning, a tractor trailer comes to our location, and it's loaded with everything that we need, and we cross stock that day. Or whatever comes in for the day goes out that day, and it's staged and sent out. And it's not just their uh, direct sales; it's their builders, their multifamily. We do retail drops off for smaller dealers in the market, things like that. So.
Oh, interesting. Interesting. I did not realize that. So maybe for some of my clients, you might be doing some delivery in that market. If they've sold a Whirlpool product and Whirlpool's distributing it out direct, that you might be doing some of that delivery.
It's possible. So if something's going to get exchanged, let's just say something's not a part's no longer available, or it's unrepairable, and they're going to exchange the product, we would, if as long as it's in one of the zip codes that we own, yes, we would be doing that
All
for
right.
you.
Awesome. Awesome. And then that's in addition to the 75 technicians that you have in the market,
Yes,
right?
yes, yes.
Wow.
That's a whole different business. It's
Yeah.
a different structure.
So, that's obviously a different piece of business, but technicians are very hard to find. What I'm seeing is technicians are aging. They're like me and you, Danny. They're getting old, right? And so how are you solving that issue? How are you bringing new technicians into the business?
Well, we've gone through a few different models. We tried building our own. We were going to build a trade school, but it's very difficult to get the affiliation that you need with a manufacturer and the state that you can offer and be given funds by the state for helping get some of the kids to get some funding, some, almost like a scholarship. We went through the military program for a little while. We had a couple of good candidates and still have a couple of them that worked out well. But being in the New York, New Jersey market is an extremely expensive location to live. So it's very difficult to get somebody coming out of the military that can afford to want to relocate and live here. So that is a bit of a struggle, but we've been building them. We've been taking techs, from other companies and retraining them our way. We would send them with some of our, lead techs. We then hired a trainer from Whirlpool. So he's with us as well. He does all of our in-house pre-screening. And then when we need he's there for technical support as well. So we don't always have to go to Whirlpool's technical support because we actually have one of our own. But when we need some training, that he could do that as well. Even though he's remote, we'll pull him up wherever we have to have him come up for a couple of weeks if need be to work with a tech or techs if we see some weaknesses so they can build their strengths in those pieces.
Okay, great. So you really haven't had trouble finding the technicians that you needed. And as I recall, you have a pretty unique pay plan for your guys. And I've always said that being an appliance repair person it could be very easily a six-figure job. And obviously up in the New York market, I think you probably have several that are in the six figures. So talk us a little bit about, in general, how your pay plan works for your technicians.
So we have they're either, they're hourly. Of course, they're coming in and we give them whatever hopefully we give them what they're asking, sometimes more, based on their skill level. But we also have a bonus program that's in play every month. So there's as a ladder of reaching revenue points each month. And also their QoS, as long as the quality of service and their scores are up to par with the manufacturer in Google, because we have our Google review sheets that we look at as well. Those have to be in line. And then they can earn monies each month. If they have a bad month, we wipe the slate clean at the end of the month and start over again. If they have a great month, it's not going to affect the following month. They start over again just the same. So in most cases, the techs most techs can make it on a monthly basis. We are a bit seasonal. The Northeast is a little colder in the winter, so the volume does back off a bit January, February, March, and April, just because a lot of people go down to Florida. Because it's warmer, obviously. So our volume will decrease a bit. So it may be a little bit of a challenge for them at that point. Although some guys make it every month, every year since they've been here. It's one of those things. I mean, obviously the more experienced techs have a better shot. And I give the beginner just as much of a chance as the expert. I'm not going to penalize them because they're really good at what they do. The ladder stays the same. Each step is the same for everybody.
So, Danny, I believe that we've lied to our generation that's coming up by telling them that if you don't go to college, you're not going to make money, right? We talked earlier that technicians could make a very nice living if they're in the appliance business. Are you seeing anything positive in the availability of repair technicians? Are there more coming in? What are you seeing today?
It's been a bit of a struggle, to be quite honest with you. We'd love to see more young kids coming out of school, going to trade school, and being introduced to this side of the world, because no matter what goes on in the world, there's always going to need a plumber, you're always going to need an electrician, and you're always going to need your appliances fixed. So I would love to be able to get some kids more interested in it. and get a little bit more buy-in from some of the trade schools, some of the their high schools that have programs for that as well, but they don't normally have the appliance industry as it's just
Gotcha.
not big enough for them.
So the trade schools and the high schools really aren't they aren't teaching appliance repair. They're teaching HVAC, computer repair, that type of stuff, right? So even if you were to hire a kid out of a trade school, you're going to have to teach them appliances. They might have some basic understanding of electricity, refrigeration, but you're going to have to teach them how to fix a washer and a dryer.
100%. And nowadays you're better off trying to find somebody who fixes computers, because an appliance is basically a very large computer.
Makes sense. So when you have a technician that you've recently put out on the road, does Whirlpool do quality of service surveys on those guys, more or
Yes.
less, or is it all kind of the same?
It's all the same. So they do surveys on all techs. Our metrics are based off of warranty work, what we are rated on by them as a company, but we also, everything that we do for them, as long as it comes with a dispatch and it's been driven from them to us, is surveyed, provided the customer actually responds to the survey. And that's usually about, I'm going to say 18 to 20% is the average on a monthly basis of the people that respond to the surveys. So, it gives you a pretty decent amount of, you kind of know where you're at with them with a 20%
Right.
hit rate.
Right. No, makes perfect sense. And so when you are working with Whirlpool obviously grades you and then makes decisions on how they're going to pay you guys. I'm assuming, so correct me if I'm wrong, Whirlpool will compensate you guys more if you're providing better service than somebody else, right? Is that how it works?
Absolutely. Obviously there's all the other things in play, location where you live, cost of living. There's things that they all quantify and calculate into their amounts that they're going to pay people and what percentages. And yes, 100% your quality of service is going to dictate what you can ask for as a rate increase the following year.
Okay. Well, that sounds very interesting. And then I'm assuming on the delivery side, it's a very similar model. You get paid on a per delivery basis, and then you QoS scores being high, you get more money for your deliveries.
Yeah, it's you're in a contract for X amount of time. When the renewal comes up, that's the negotiation at that point after that.
Got it. Makes a lot of sense. So you obviously do work for my business. You do quite a bit of work for New Leaf. And we dispatch everything directly through Whirlpool. And so when it shows up on your end, do you know it's a New Leaf call, or is it just show up as a Whirlpool call?
It shows up as a Whirlpool call, but there is a code in there, and I just happen to know the code. So all the codes, I think there's 14 or 15 of them now, and each code, each number is corresponding with a third-party administrator.
Okay.
Third-party as yourself, yes.
So Danny, obviously you've got a successful business at Dan-Marc. You've become a single branded servicer. You've got several hundred employees. What has shaped your leadership style in your business? Because you got a lot of people, you got to try to retain them. What have you learned? Have you read any books? Kind of what is it that's brought your leadership style to what it is?
Well, as I get older, I do realize I need to depend a little bit more on the people that work for me. I used to try to do it all. And unfortunately, every morning I'm in the warehouse unloading tractor trailers. That's just me. That's just my style. I like to dive in, and I really want to make sure that my employees know that if I'm willing to do it, so should they be. But I've made layers of management. I have some of my boys in the business, so I've leaned on them a little bit more as I get long in the tooth. And I've actually calmed down quite a bit to where I allow them to make some of the decisions where I used to kind of just overrule everybody. But I'm letting them if they make a mistake, I know they're going to make a mistake. And I want to see how fast they're going to realize they made a mistake, because they're never going to learn otherwise. But I do that with pretty much everybody that works for me.
Yeah. So your business is not just technicians. You obviously have parts people and inside office people, and so bringing your sons into the business. I'm assuming that's kind of your retirement plan is to turn the business over to your boys, right?
Absolutely.
So how have you structured it with your boys? Do you have them in leadership positions over certain groups? Are they technicians? How are you handling the setup for the transition?
So the only thing one of my kids never did was be a technician. Um, I wanted one of them to be, but I don't know that any of them had that skill set. Nothing against them. Not everybody's meant to be a technician. Um, but one of my boys runs the parts and warehousing. One runs the overall office and the daily dispatching logistics of everything, that's a crazy job in itself, trying to handle 400 calls a day. And my youngest just got his master's in his accounting degree. So he's right now in an accounting firm. In order to get to the next level, to get a CPA license, he has to go for X amount of months, or for a year, I think it is. And once he's done with that, I'm assuming he's coming back because he's going to have to be handling that side of the business. But I do have my fourth boy, who's down in Florida. He moved to Florida. He's really the financial guy. So I lean on him a lot. That's what he does for a living. He's in mergers and acquisitions, and he wants to come back, not to live here. He just wants to come back to the company at some given point. But when he's ready to come back full time, that's probably when I'll kind of step aside. And they know that my kids will be set, and I know that they'll have every aspect of the business go.
So your son down in Florida is really kind of what you're kind of viewing as your replacement. Then I'm hearing, is that kind of the way?
He's me.
Yeah.
Yes. He's the closest thing to me without having been a technician.
Got
Yes.
it. Okay. And then from obviously your leadership skills are really on you're going to jump in and do the work that everybody should be able to do. So you're more of a let me show you how to get it done kind of guy. You're not a rah guy, or is that a safe statement?
Definitely not a rah guy.
Okay. Yeah.
If you're looking for a pat on the back, I'm not it. I am, I let you do your thing. I'll help you and correct you if you're wrong. I don't yell at anybody. I very rarely give anybody I don't reprimand anybody. I just try to just correct them when they're doing something wrong, so they understand what they may have done wrong. That's just my style of doing it. I didn't like getting yelled at, and I don't want somebody else getting yelled at. I think I have an advantage to some other larger companies, because most of the larger players, national providers and such, those people never were technicians. They're white collar gentlemen and women. I was a technician, so I did it all. There's nothing they do that I haven't done. So I feel what it's like for them to go into customers' homes every day.
Right.
It's not easy.
Yep. No, you're right. I
Definitely
was
not
one
an
of
easy
those
thing.
guys. I was one of those white collar guys that you were talking about that ran service, right? I mean, I knew how to fix things, but I never did it professionally, right? I did it at my own house, and so I agree with you. So that gives you a level of respect with your employees that takes somebody else a little bit longer to actually gain, right? So as I recall, even back in the day, Danny, you used to do all of the tech support. I mean, you and I'd be out of lunch, your phone would ring and you'd pick it up and it would be a technician asking for help.
I still do. Even though I honestly tell you, I can't fix a product if my life depended on it right now, because it's gotten past me. But theory wise and technically, I could probably do it. I wouldn't know how to open the machines anymore, but I understand how a machine's supposed to work. I go to all the trainings as well because I want to be current myself.
Right. Now, do you get your sons to go to the training too?
They do. I really send them more for the training that would best suit them, in more of the people skills, things of that nature. So when they have billing training and something with service bench, or something where the financial guy has to be dealing with it because he has to learn how Service Bench communicates with our software. Yeah, I try to make sure that they're involved with things that will help them. I don't want, I've separated them for a reason. I'm not going to ever make me again. So it's probably a lot easier if I just divided myself up in 3 or 4 and just let them really focus. Similar to what I said earlier about fixing one brand as opposed to all. I don't expect they're going to know everything. So I'd rather them be sharp at what they do.
Right. Makes a lot of sense. So obviously, Danny, obviously you're a single branded service company, but I wanted to make sure that if somebody needs help with their Whirlpool service, particularly in the Northeast, that they know how to get hold of you. Could you maybe give us a little bit of info how we might be able to find you, maybe an email address?
Sure. We have actually my email address that we have customers sending service dispatch requests to would be calls, CALLS at Dan-Marc-Appliance.com. And you could always put in a request there. You could go on our website at www.Dan-Marc-Appliance.com, and there is a link there that ties right into our system. And you could book an appointment on there, and you could actually book the date as well because that's interactive and it's live. So if there's an available date or time that you're looking for, you could just book it right there.
Fantastic. Danny, I can't tell you how much I appreciate you joining us today. You've been a great partner of New Leafs over the years, and I was excited to learn how Whirlpool has expanded your business. So thank you so much for joining Covered with New Leaf.
It was a pleasure being here, Sean.
Thank you, sir.